2 rooms on this side. So the room you're sleeping in and
a room full of stuff?
A bathroom? Like
maybe a bathroom.
A magic workshop? Are you even a mage at this point? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, let's see.
I know you're gonna be a motherfucking sorcerer by the end of this shit, but like...
Yeah, we'll see where she's starting from.
Aoko's room was at the end of the East Wing's long corridor. She'd elected for a smaller room for no other reason other than that she thought it would be easier to clean. It was furnished with a large bed, her beloved mahogany desk, a wardrobe and chest for her clothes, and 2 9-shelf bookcases.
9-shelf? Wow.
9-shelf bookcases.
2 of them. That's a lot of books.
That's all she brought with her from home.
Oh, that's it, huh?
You know.
A mahogany desk and 2 giant bookshelves and a bed.
So you acquired the guitars after you got here, then?
Yeah, probably.
Her entire life of 16 years reduced to this. She borrowed the next room down for her own purposes.
What?
I'm sorry?
Are you gonna explain
You
that?
were given a watchtower.
Like, up the hill? Oh? Record.
She needed to see if the project she'd been working on all night had borne fruit. The study next door served as proof of the life she'd been living for the last year and how different that life was from the one she had lived before. It was not a room for the person she had been. It was a room for the person she would eventually become. A place of solitude that only she could enter. Or so she thought.
Sounds like a workshop. The hell is Robin? What?
That's why she said, like... Okay. She definitely didn't say Robin at any point.
No, that's not in English anyway.
The nosy neighbor that had intruded upon her sanctuary flew away. While not exceptionally talented, Aoko did not lack for effort and was not afraid to fail. One could have almost mistaken her approach for optimism.
Oh. And that one they cut away for. And sweater, huh?
She changed out of her uniform and returned to the first floor. However, since Sojiro is here, we're not going to see her face.
I guess.
These are the rules. Crotch.
Well, yeah, it shows she's wearing jeans.
Down the stairs, she opened the door to the east wing into the corridor as dark as a cellar.
Maybe turn on a light. There we go.
The absence of windows meant it was pitch black without the lights on, so she flicked the switch and entered the nearby doorway. Oh, hey, a TV. Hey, do you know how to use that? It had been her idea to update the drawing. You know, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh man, I bet Sojiro and Rin would get along well. Except then I remembered Rin is useless with technology, but she is, you know, used to electricity.
Well, yeah, she doesn't...
So they couldn't quite be completely buddy-buddy technical illiterates.
No, they wouldn't quite get along.
The walls were decorated with extravagant patterns, and around the room were large, majestic sofas, and a luxurious Persian rug. Amidst it all was a 30-inch television that seemed completely out of place. That does not look like a 30-inch television. It stood looking over the other furniture like the emperor with no clothes.
What? Why?
The mansion's...
Is it fake?
Yeah. The mansion's owner would have rather done without it, but to a commoner like Aoko, it was an essential commodity.
Oh, like it doesn't belong, I guess?
They had fought over its presence at first, but eventually came to an understanding and now mutually enjoyed this modern comfort. And the VCR that appears to be underneath it in the entertainment center there.
Yep, I see it on the cabinet. There we go. Nice close-up. From a really old school home, huh?
Now, in a somewhat pleasant mood, she decided to brew some tea. She boiled some water in the kitchen, prepared a teapot, and made herself some black tea.
Wow, European style, huh? Ooh, nice tea set.
What kind of Japanese person are you drinking black tea? With a flop, she sank into the sofa.
Well, her roommate is named Alice, so I'm guessing a lot of that stuff is European.
She took a sip of her tea, and then another.
Oh, nice. And now the sun is setting.
And Alice still isn't home. She was supposed to have been at school, wasn't she?
Well, yeah, she didn't have the day off.
Lulled by the ticking of the clock, she took a third sip as she pondered how to spend her afternoon.
It looks like you spent the whole afternoon already.
It appears to be dark out, actually. The sofa almost seemed to be inviting her, and she sunk even further into its comforting embrace.
Oh.
Oh.
She fell asleep, I think.
Aoko blearily opened her eyes as she lifted her body up from the cushions. Alice, I don't mean to alarm you, but there appears to be a nun sitting on your couch. This was no dream or delusion. At some point, a girl had sat down across from her. Not the least bit surprised, she reached for her teacup. Which I'm very glad my brain corrected before I said, because I thought that said laptop at first. Those didn't exist in 1980.
Probably
1988,
oh,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe, but they were big clunky
maybe
fuckers.
a huge bulky thing.
But the tea within had gone completely cold.
You think?
She asked the question to the girl on the other side of the table. The girl answered without lifting her gaze. When silent, she could have been mistaken for a beautiful doll. The girl sitting on the opposite sofa was reading an old book. She had delicate limbs and pale white skin. Not a hint of humanity emanated from her melancholic aura. Because she's a vampire?
Maybe, I don't know.
She had darker hair than Aoko, and her icy eyes were focused on the pages in front of her. Her clothes resembled that of a nun, but were actually her school uniform.
Oh.
She goes to nun school.
I guess a Catholic school?
In Aoko's humble opinion, the gloominess suited her. She evoked something like out of a painting. There was something unreal about her, as if she were frozen in time. The white of her neck was so lovely that even Aoko found herself enchanted by it.
Huh.
Alright, calm down there, Aoko.
Do you mean her collar or her actual skin?
No, like her... I think Aoko wants to suck her blood.
Okay.
The girl was one of the haunted house's 2 residents. Her name was Alice Kuonji, and she was the same age as Aoko. Which apparently is 16.
16 or 17.
Well,
yeah.
Earlier in,
she said 16,
in that scene,
yeah.
she said it was the collection of her 16 years of life or whatever.
Yeah.
So she must be...
about to turn 17?
Yeah. I would be surprised if we don't hit her birthday throughout the course of this.
Yeah.
1時間と少しここで眠ると風邪ひくわよ
Alice answered indifferently. Not that it bothered Aoko, who was now used to it. She looked at the clock on the wall and saw that it was already 7. She'd been asleep for 2 hours. The day had been a rough one for her, and she'd slept little the night before, so it was no surprise that she'd dozed off for as long as she had. Aw man, it was a hard day. I woke up, and then I showed a kid around school, and then I came home.
She had to walk all the way to school in the rain, do the stupid bullshit at school, then walk all the way back.
Stop a guy from flinging himself out a second-story window.
Yeah, you know. That was a good deed for the day.
if she only knows that you've been asleep for an hour, then presumably she only got back an hour ago. And her waking you up at that point wouldn't have mattered. Your tea was already cold.
Probably, yeah.
私が来た時
Yeah.
目
Yeah,
が覚めてたわ
precisely. Thank you, Alice.
でしょうね行ってみただけよ
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
fuck you anyways.
It's the spirit of the thing.
Aoko drank down the rest of the cold tea in one gulp. Ugh. The only thing worse than hot tea is cold tea.
You don't like tea?
There's like very, very select brands and
Oh.
flavors that I actually like. But in general, no, I'm not a big fan of tea.
Oh, alright.
Unless you like put an absolute like... Did you ever go to like one of those functions where they had like the big like sugar shakers to put like in the tea or whatever?
I don't think so.
Well, it's not gonna mean much to you then, but I like for regular tea, I need to take like an entire half of one of those and just dump it in the. It needs to be like a slush that's mostly sugar
Oh,
and just
jeez.
a little bit of tea. Like I would like some tea with my sugar, basically, is my
Wow.
solution to tea. Or like when I was like sick or something as a kid, it was like, oh yeah, I'll have tea, but only if you put like way too much honey in it.
Oh.
In the poorly heated Koonji mansion, that was more than enough to clear her head and wake her up. Just get a space heater!
こうなるとフォートナム&メイソンも何もないよね
That's better than the expensive brand, huh?
Oh,
Oh,
good.
there's a
So,
face.
well, somebody else is here to look at her, so we're allowed to see
Yeah,
her
この
face.
贅沢もあんた抜きじゃ閉まらないっ
This
て
is
こ
how they
とかし
do
ら
it. Someone else has to be looking at her.
今日は薬日か天中殺かちょっと早いけどお参りってのも十分ありかもね
Looking for an exorcism.
Aoko shrugged her shoulders as if resigning herself to her fate.
それで何があったの
Yeah, I had to go to school and so show some hick from the country around. Dude didn't know you don't walk out second-story windows. After 2 years together, they knew each other quite well. Aoko had one way of asking questions, and Alice had another. Alice asked without raising her head, and Aoko gave her the details.
まず謝らなくちゃいけない
Oh?
昨日徹夜で完成させた例のあれ意味がなくなっちゃったのよちょっと目を離した隙に沸騰しすぎて壊れちゃったみたいそうならないよう循環のコードを 2,3 本外したり縫合したりしたんだけど
Circulation codes. Huh.
Interesting. By the way, I really have to, like... Aoko just continues to be more and more my spirit animal as we keep going through this.
Why is that?
I don't know, it's just so, like, I identify so hard with her so far.
Oh, the staying up way too late and the project being a failure now,
And
or
the being a completely sarcastic ass to, like, everybody she interacts with so far. Like, I love her tremendously. I don't know if that's gonna change over the course of the game, but at the moment,
She's a lot of fun.
really quite love her. Aoko tried to laugh it off as if it were someone else's problem.
どういうこと今朝休養が入って学校に呼び出し受けたのそこで転入生の世話を押し付けられて一日が無残にも消費されちゃって帰ってきたら跡形もなく消えてました 怒るアリス別に青子の器物破損にいちいち怒っていたら
Oh.
一生分の口論をすることになるでしょ
Okay, so how does somebody who is evidently about as good at magic as Shiro get to be a sorcerer?
Well, I kind of know how, but we'll see how we get there.
How does Shiro get to be a fucking sorcerer? I mean, he doesn't, but
Not really.
he
no.
gets to be legitimately good with magic at some point prior to becoming Archer.
He gets to be good at one magic.
代用品はあるから
It's better than most people.
また一から始めればいいわ
It also happens that the magic he happens to be really good with is one of the hardest ones to do.
Well, yeah, but it's really is pretty much all a reality marble.
それより怒ってるのはあなたの方じゃないの
A reality marble, which is, need I remind you, really hard to
Well,
do.
yeah, to make intentionally, which he didn't do
Well, he
intentionally.
does now.
I mean, he didn't make it on purpose. Oh, She looks upset.
Alice was very much on point. I love the kind of side by side is gone now of like, you know, contemplative, like just kind of neutral faced Aoko on the couch.
Yeah.
And scowly, frowny Aoko.
They pan down so they could still show her pose, but then see the scowl.
It was true that despite outward appearances, Aoko was seething with frustration. What do you mean, despite outward appearances? That aside.
この転入生っていうのがひどくずれててね。すごい山奥で暮らしてたらしくて、こっちの常識が通じないんだから。三問以下って言葉があるけど、あれって本当のことなのね、アリス。
Alice raised her head in response to hearing her name. But Aoko kept going on before she could get a word in edgewise. Aoko, after all, expected no sympathy in the first place.
初対面から尺に触るやつだったけど、教室を案内した時なんか失神しそうになったわ。
Way to imply something very different there.
Well, hang on.
そいつ、教室で教師と1対1で授業を受けるもんだと思ってたらしいの。それはそれでまだ流せる。許容範囲よ、あの程度の冗談は。で、私が簡潔かつ丁寧に教室の何たるかを教えた後で、そいつなんて言ったと思う？
Was that polite?
Yeah,
it
politely explained.
It seemed dripping with veiled anger to me. Thinly veiled anger, mind you, because even Sojiro was like, "Hey, I might be off base on this, but you seem kind of mad."
Yeah.
Which only made her more mad.
Right.
それで青崎、他の教室は何に使うんだ？ですって。教室に他も何もないでしょ？なんていうか、そいつは少しでも説明を怠るとそのままで納得しちゃうのよ。
I was purposefully trying to be a dick so he'd go away, and he just kept accepting it.
Yeah.
何も疑問に思わないというか、想像力が欠如してるっていうか、想像することに慣れてないっていうか。
Or he had no reason to think you were lying to him?
Like, to some extent, I almost wonder if this kid is similar in some ways to Soichiro.
Soichiro?
Yeah.
Which one?
Kuzuki.
Oh, yeah. Interesting childhood.
Something like that. Because, like, there's clearly something up with him outside of
just being
some mountain hick.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know shit about technology, including electricity somehow.
Well, we'll need to give him more screen time to see.
まあ、一度言ったことはちゃんと分かってるっぽいから、バカってわけじゃないんだけど。
Yeah, he doesn't seem like an idiot. He just seems like he hasn't heard things yet.
あなたが人を批評するのは珍しいわね。そういうダメな人、気にするたちだったの？
みじんたりとも気にしないわよ。けど、明日からどんな間違いをしでかす
Well,
の
it's
か。
not your problem if he screws up now, is it?
Yeah, how is that your issue exactly? What she was really worried about was having to clean up that mess if and when it happened.
Yeah, Miss Student Council President.
That had to be it.
Totally.
I mean, I could see her being worried about having to clean up a dead body when he accidentally flings himself out of a second-story window.
Okay, yeah, that was some justified concern there.
If not, it would mean she had no real idea why she could not get him out of her head. I think it's because you're co-protagonists.
Well, yeah, that too.
Just saying.
とにかく変なやつなの。案外アリスと気が合うかも。
三問異界はいい言葉ね。
But from her eyes, it was clear that the question of whether they would get along was irrelevant, given that they would never meet in the first place.
Well, not under normal circumstances.
Aoko gave a non-committal response.